if you're thinking about selling, this is the kind of prices we're seeing at the moment. So just looked at, I followed a couple of Auctions Plus sales last week. So these are 29 cows and calves from Dungog last week, made $3.38 a kilo. So $1,500 for what looks like, they were mixed sex calves, but looked like they were probably August, September calves from last year. So not gangbusters, but yeah, it's very, it's very solid money. These were 30-odd PTIC heifers, 2.5 years old, not very heavy, 340 kilos. That's from Glenny's Creek, and they also made close to $1,300. So there's no doubt the black cattle, either with calves or PTIC, are a very valuable item at this stage. Weaning calves. So it's not like we're in February almost, so it's not really early weaning anymore, but it might be a bit earlier than what you're used to. For people that might have weaned in October or November or December, that would have been early weaning. Those calves would have gone onto a quite high protein pellet, 16 or 18%, something like that. So they don't need that anymore. So the calves that have been weaned now that might be kind of 150 kilos, it might be a bit less, can get by on a fattener meal of around 14% protein, if they've got access to a bit of pick, which will have quite high protein in it at this time of year. If you are early weaning and you're still confinement feeding those calves because you don't have, you can't let them out just yet, then cereal hay is still the best roughage for the calves, or a grassy lucerne. So not stubble, not rice straw, but not fantastic, pure lucerne hay either, which can give them tummy upset. Ryegrass silage is another thing that might become available for the mid-north coast, which would be, pretty good for those calves. These calves can get by on sort of 1 to 2% of their body weight, which is not a lot of feed. How much to feed these calves, or what's the weight gain target for these weaners? It depends on your plan for them. So if they look not too bad right now, the calves that is, then I will be happy if they gain about 0.3 kilos per day, those calves. If you're planning to keep them in for the long term, that they might be future breeders, they might be, might go to the feeder heifer market eventually at 2 years old, and they can go there 0 or 2 teeth, that's fine. Or it might be the MSA job at 400 kilos live weight. Basically, we're playing the long game with those heifers or those steers, whatever, if we're only getting them by on 0.3 kilos a day. It's not a lot, but it'll keep them going if they look okay now. Avoid stagnation or weight loss. And of course, if they're pretty woody right now, then 0.3 kilos is not going to be enough. You need to do a bit more with them. Some people may not be able to weigh your calves. What do you do in that situation? And I would say, well, you just have to look at them. Check out the body language and observe them. Coat shine, do they look shiny in the coat? Are they licking themselves? So grooming, they've got a bit of energy for grooming, this kind of thing. Make sure that they're eating properly, just check them out. Early weaning it's gaining more acceptance. Doing a good job on weaning calves should be a source of pride. It's fantastic thing to do, and I believe it has a much wider application than we're already seeing. So if you're still planning to, if the weaners had a rough start, so they're a bit woody or they're a bit light, or you're planning to sell them as weaners in April, May, or you have specific joining dates for later this year because you really want to punch them along, try and carve them as 2 years old to get your system going again, then obviously you have to keep them going a bit better now, and you should be targeting 0.6 to 0.7 kilos a day. 0.7 is about the maximum you need to do. I had some targets for direct sale of stock to processors, and I've got some numbers up there, but realistically right now you are going to get better money going to the yards, and that is always the way on a rising market. On a declining market or a drought market, the processor money will be better than the yards, but it has turned around right now. The meatworks are still trying to catch up get ahead of their kill, so they're still killing cattle that were booked in before Christmas. I see that running for another 2 to 3 weeks, and once they get through that backlog, we will see prices increases, no question. They're already edged up. I noticed that Wingham doesn't even have a grid out for next week, so it's just a day by day who gets rain and how much. So it's really, yeah, it's on a bit of a knife edge for sure. As far as, you know, you might have space booked in. I talked to Steve Moy about this recently. He's livestock buyer with Wingham, and they would say if you have space booked but you haven't received the price grid for that time, they're not going to quibble if you pull out as soon as you get the grid. But if you have space booked and you get the grid for that time and you say, yep, okay, like you don't tell him that that's no good, then they would expect you to deliver your cattle. I understand that Throsby's has a contract system in place, and so I don't think any of the processors are going to take anyone to court, you know, if you didn't honour the deal and pulled your cattle out, but they're probably just not going to buy them again in future. Direct consignment. Yeah, of course they'll take them through the yards, but they also might get desperate enough to do that anyway. So there's market premiums for pregnant or PTISD stock at the moment for bigger lots, but previous big discounts for heifers and light stock of east. So, you know, it's only a month ago, no one wanted light stock at all. Everyone was paying for weight because it was it was more expensive to put weight on. But we're seeing that turn around a little bit. And so just to illustrate this, so these were some, this was a bit more on Auctions Plus. So these were Angus heifers, 10 months, 270 kilos. So these were Western cattle, look, not too bad. So they made $360 a kilo. That's the heifers, and the steers made $345, and they both made around about the same. So there was massive discounts for heifers. We're seeing that even up, especially on, you know, potential breeding stock, which is, you know, big lines of Angus heifers. Wouldn't expect the same thing for crossbred heifers. You know, we're still seeing a bit more of a discount. So this is just what I had a look at the Singleton sale for the 29th. So what's that? Couple of days ago. So there's the steer portion there, bit all over the place, but averaging around $340, and the heifers averaging around $3 a kilo. So that's what you could expect at the sale yards, but it's edging up all the time. And of course, if the rain comes to fruition next week, I would expect the trend to keep going, and for, as I said, prices to stay solid for at least the month of February, if you were playing for time on trying to avoid selling stock. And just, yeah, had a look at the cow price, and as I said, averaging around $250 a kilo. So the early weaning, I'm just going to go through it quickly because we're not really there anymore, but, you know, by the textbook. So this is, I put all the items that are important, and I put a ticker across based on what we've done over the last sort of 3 years, and we've been really happy with it. So we haven't separated the cows for the calves on size because we just didn't have enough. So they're all in together, didn't matter. But if you do that, you just got to make sure you have trough space, ample trough space, so that everything can get a feed at the same time. If you don't have ample trough space and you've got uneven sizes, then you've got gorging and you've got some that are missing out. That's not on. Pink eye can be a real issue, and especially with drought affected weaners that you might buy in. I wouldn't see it as being as big of an issue now because we don't have the dust, but still got plenty of flies. We don't vaccinate, but we do easy dose, give an antibiotic if necessary. Into the eyebrow is the most reliable. 5 cc's into the eyebrow is the most reliable, and nutrition is the most important thing. 5-in-1 We didn't castrate, dehorn. Never got them on feed prior, just in you go into the yards and away we go. We do have an excellent webinar on that on our website. Going to talk a little bit about compensatory growth. I'm just about done, Cole, if you get nervous. This is old CRC trial. Basically what it shows is that calves that are born light never catch up. They might be born light because of nutrition, or they might be born light because you used a low birth weight bull, or they might be born light because of disease. It doesn't matter what forced them to be lighter, but they'll be lighter all the way through. Calves that are born okay, regular weight, had a tough time pre-weaning, you can expect compensatory growth. They may never fully catch up, but that's fine. Just, you know, their genetics is intact. It just means you've got a smaller cow, so next time you feed them, you don't have to feed as much. So this is, we've seen a lot of this actually in our bought-in drought-affected heifers. Get fat pretty quickly, give you heaps of options to get out of them in terms of selling to the fat market or breeding them. So we don't mind that. Of course, if you're selling feeder steers, you know, they're going to be a bit lighter. And things that might grow less in the grow out phase, so they're okay up to weaning, grow less in the, you know, after weaning or in the yearling stage, they tend to catch right up in the feedlot. So of course the feedlots love these guys. Given HGP a bit of compensatory growth, they're all over them. Slightly less marbling, but yeah, always make the grade. And I mentioned that no use trying to do anything over 0.7, and that's because they'll just slow down. They'll just slow down after that, so they'll grow slower. It's the same as if you grow a ryegrass paddock or even a sorghum paddock over summer, and you put stuff on there, young stuff, and you don't sell them at the end of that, you keep them, then they'll grow slower after that. So the research is really clear. Yeah. So based on my view of the world up in the glorious New England, you have to wean. The time is now, right now, okay? I think that if you're forced into a corner and you have to sell, it's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, it's a pretty good time. The prices have gone up $1 a kilo in the sale yard. So if you had to do that, yep, it could be a lot worse. Adjustment option is there. Apart from feeding for the next few weeks or absolute maximum month, while because you get rain and you're waiting for it to come away, that's okay. But apart from that, I see feeding as out of the question. If it was me, well, we've done it. So what we have done is sold down our cows, sold down steers, and kept heifers, crossbred heifers, because they've had no friends in the sale yard, but for us, because we always send to the meatworks anyway, colour's no big deal. So that's what we've done. And if you haven't received much rain up to now, and you don't get much next week, then the week after that, you're going to be in the second week of February and you have to put the line in the sand. If you've had some rain and you get a bit more, you've got more time up your sleeve, but you're just looking to the next June, as it's sand June, as it were.